slight wind because it's pretty rare that, you know, many of these guys that come back, they didn't get any no wind forwards on their car.
Yeah.
So it's pretty consistent. We get a lot of wind here. Okay. Bingo. There we go. And we're ready. Yes and no. So, you control the loading. You control how fast the wing comes up. Yes, if that glider tries to overfly you and, you know, and unload, first you take off like a bullet and try and outrun it. But if it's gonna unload, you have to hit the brakes. Preferably, you don't let that happen in the first place. What?
What do you mean unload?
Because the glider's collapsing. Yep. Lines go slack, all your brake pressure goes away, you know you're in a world of hurt. You drop your stance, you take off running, you hit brakes. If you ever feel those brakes go light, go to no pressure. So next, you're controlling the loading. So you're what pulled up the wing. So if you don't want that wing to overfly you have to hit it good and hard at first and give it lots of energy to get it off the ground. But as soon as you feel you got a good wing and it's coming up, you can kind of ease off and not push so hard on it so that it doesn't overfly you. You want to be careful you don't get too little energy because that's tricky to recover from. But you can check and make sure you don't get too much energy. So this time, try and not pull it up, just pull it up perfect so you don't even have to check the brakes. So if you feel it go light, drop your stance, take off running, but pull up hard at the beginning, and then once you feel it coming up good, you can ease off just enough to make it stop at the top without brakes. Remember to lift A's. One thing that people commonly do is they start putting their arms back and pulling down on the A's. Do not pull down. The wing doesn't know up from down. Either direction is loading the riser. So you'll get guys, the glider goes to the right and people start pulling down on the high side. That does not make the wing go down, it makes it go up because you're pulling pressure on it. So make sure you're lifting the low side, and on the high side, your arm goes limp. So you're just not applying pressure at all. Don't force it up or down. When you lift A's, make sure you're gently lifting them up. Okay, all right. Go. We're gonna try and control the loading so it doesn't overfly. And bingo. There, see that? No brakes at all. Full brakes. Perfect. A+, beautiful. Super West. Yeah, baby. Couldn't have done it better myself. Super training is all about turning you into me. So it really, the guys that work with me enough, they start looking exactly like I do it. You start getting all those little pieces. It's pretty cool. If you wore my jacket, you know, my helmet, you'd think it was me. That's beautiful. So it's all about the little feel and the nuances, that initial weight shift. And just that one little piece makes all that difference in the world. So maybe do one more and then we'll get other guys doing it. Bingo. And you see that bring down? That was beautiful. Don't just bury the brakes and hold it. Stall the glider, hands up, let it kind of float down or help it down. So you set it down gently. The second it touches the ground, pull brakes, half a step towards it so the leading edge falls backwards. Hopefully, if you have zero wind, that's not possible because any energy forwards and it's gonna fall forwards. But with even the slightest wind, when it hits the ground, if you take a step towards it, it can fall backwards. So that's the goal. All right, here we go. One more, arms back, relax the arms, and use the perfect amount of energy. Not too much, not too little. Bring it. And side step in, lift in. There we go. on going. That's all there is to it. But that's a lot of pieces that it's impossible to think about. They have to be built in one at a time. You have to have the weight shift. You have to have the feel of the raising and lowering your stance to control that loading perfectly. And you got to have that feel on the risers, because the amount of pressure you lift on the A's is exactly the same as when you do a reverse. And so you've been practicing it over and over and over. So all you have to do is change it to this. You're gonna lift those A's, just like when you're facing the glider. You don't pull the A's to your belly button, which we tell you 100 times. You lift the A's, so don't go like this with your A's. You hit it, let the glider load, and you gently coax it up and make sure it's coming up. If it's not coming up, push up a little bit more on the back. But you only can do that from leaning forward. Because if you're here, your arms can't physically go backwards. So even with a motor, when you first run, you're gonna lean forward, hit it, run, 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 run. Then you're gonna transition from pulling. As soon as that glider comes up above you, with a motor, you quickly transition from running to being pushed. Boom. So you go from leaning and pulling to stand up and being pushed. And it's a quick transition, and you need to do it flawlessly. Another thing people do mess up is they stop. You know, they do one thing at a time and they stop to think. So they run and then they're like, okay, now what do I do? Okay. And then you can't, it's gotta be fluid. Your brain will make you do it, you'll be surprised, but don't stop, it's fluid. Run. If it brings you to a stop, lean. Use your body weight, not your muscle. You just kind of lean against that glider. As soon as it lets you go, boom, you can take off, but not so fast that you create a surge that's violent and it shoots out and you have to hit it right.
Hey, let's have a student jump in and try.
Okay, let's get a student. Who's up? Let's see. Well, we got to start with Joe Curtis. Let's do it. Yeah, is that a large or the medium?
This is the medium.
Okay.
That's perfect.
The size of it doesn't matter too much, although it is easier to launch a smaller glider, interestingly enough. If you go to launch at high altitude, it is easier to launch a medium than an extra large, which most people don't know. But the larger the glider, the heavier the wing, so you have a lot more energy expelled, plus the roll rate is slower, so it takes you a lot more energy to get it under control. Where the smaller wing, it's just whoop, whoop, get under it, bam, done. So you see how quick he kind of gets under it and gets it done. The bigger the wing, the slower it wants to respond to that. So it is a little physically easier to launch that little smaller glider. And then as far as how fast you run, the difference is maybe one step, just like a smidgen different. So how fast you run is really minimal compared to how physically hard it is to do it.
Let's see Eddie. I got Mike over there.
Bingo. Everybody makes the same mistake, so it is kind of good to watch what's going on. First, people pull too hard in the A's. That's a big one. Or they pull the wrong direction. The wing starts going up and their hands are still pushing down. So you gotta relax, let the glider take your arms where they need to go, and you just kind of give it a little extra help. Another reason your hands are back there are also mainly just for feeling where it is. Because if you're just letting the glider lift your arms up, it tells you where that glider is. You know, if this arm's higher than that one, oops, I better go this way. Oops, on into it. Lots of little pieces that just absolutely would not work if you didn't have the feel.
This arm's higher.
Then you're gonna lift it. Yep, you got it. You got it. If that glider comes up that way, We're gonna lift the low side, relax totally so you're not putting any pressure on the high side, side step under it until it's level, and then continue straight ahead. Or if it turns, same sort of thing. Comes up and it goes that way. So I'm gonna side step under it and go the way it tells me to go. The risers, again, like we've told a bunch of you guys on the forward, those risers don't want to be twisted, so if you kind of just let the glider pivot you where it wants to go, it tells you what to do, you just have to listen. So the binga binga bong. All right. Woo. There, so lean forward, down and back. Relax those arms, let the glider initially pull you where it wants, and then you're just going to get forward coaxing going up. Just lifting the A above the other riser. Don't pull it. Let's see. The second it goes a little sideways, lift the low side, side step under the low side. Let's do it. When you're ready, turn your head, watch the wingtip. Look at that wingtip and go for it. Lift that right side, lift the left side, turn and run that way. Full brake. Carry the brakes, run and run, and turn around. Turn around, full brake.
Yeah!
That's basically the worst. No, that's the big bad. If it frontals, you're in big trouble. So if it frontals like that, your reflex needs to be bam, you turned around immediately. Because if it takes a frontal and you just keep on running, it's going to fall behind you, open all at once, and whap, rip you right off your feet, and you land flat in your back in a turtle. So if it collapses, never try and fix it forwards. Always turn around, turn around. If you can't catch that collapse, then you got to turn around and start again. Bingo. Yeah, nice job, man. This is the thing. You want to turn around, turn the way it's falling. Yep.
Alright, he's gonna do another one.
Alrighty. See, this right here is the ticket. We should have a race. Whoever can go downwind the fastest wins. Because that's the hardest thing, is to try and control that glider at the lightest possible loading. The best technique would be one-handed, because you can hold pressure on the A's to keep it loaded. Yeah, there you go. A little left brake, fly a little to your right to get away from the gear. One more piece we did kind of miss. Turn your head, peripheral vision, watch the wingtip. Everybody forgets that and they start staring at their feet or staring somewhere. You're either looking at the wingtip or you're looking at the horizon. Don't stare at your feet. Wingtip, boom, watch that wingtip. If you watch the wingtip, it just gives you that much more. If it collapses, you can see it just happen. So if you take the collapse, boom, turn around. All right, perfect, looks good. Bring her on down, stall it, hands up, and float it to the ground gently. And perfect, hands up. There you go, and left, real gentle, and right, and step forward. Bam, there we go, that's beautiful. That's what I'm talking about. Keep your eye on the wing this time. you're gonna have your head turned right about there. So don't take your eye off that wingtip. You're focusing on that wingtip, that whole lift up. Now this time, just kind of try and control that energy. You pulled so hard that it overshot you. So pull really hard to get it off the ground. But once it starts coming up nice and good, you can ease off just a little bit so it doesn't overshoot you so hard. And when it goes light and you feel it get up there, kind of let you go, boom, you're a slingshot. Just take off like a bullet. Okay. Maybe that way, just right, arms back, watch the wingtip, just do it nice and gentle, relax over. Bring it. Lift, 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 and spring. Go, go. Very nice. It's kind of hard because you got your hands back here and you're kind of tense, and the glider passes you and you're pulling down on the A's. So make sure your arms are feeling and following those A's up.
Mm-hmm.